And so, it begins. Dark were the skies and chill was the wind as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people did crowd for a savior, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shivering metal from head to toe. Wielding a terrible broadsword, he did cleave his foes in two, smashing their ranks asunder with righteous fury. And when the day was done and the enemy strode across the fields in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and say, "We shall name this day in your honor. Speak unto us your wisdom." The warrior said one word that day: epic.
One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Plz. It begins now. Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Rift Please, right here on cynicalbrit.com with myself, TotalBiscuit. Welcome to the show. What a show we have for you today. It is currently 1 minute past 8 in the British Isles. And I say the British Isles out of a sense of inherent irony. It is, in fact, I believe it would be 9 o'clock in Central European time. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Yes. 1 minute past 3 on the east coast of the United States. Welcome to all those listening live, those listening by the podcast. You are welcome nonetheless in a kind of proxy way. Yes, you are here in spirit. That's all that really matters, is it not? Here, your soul is here. Perhaps all three of your souls are here. And you are listening to Rift, please, yes. No, the show's not going to be about Rift, don't worry. Some of it might be. Actually, it'll be mostly about the idea of the WoW clone. Tie it into as much as WoW as possible. We're talking about that a little bit later on the show. I'll tell you, why is being a WoW clone not inherently a bad thing? And why is calling a game a WoW clone not, in fact, grounds to be burned at the stake? Steak. Damn it, I'm hungry now. Oh well, we'll have to deal with it. Also, the Firelands. Too soon, executus. Apparently so. Oh dear. Yes, the Firelands coming sometime in the next frickin' decade. We're talking about that a little bit later on the show. Also, Zul'Gurub is back again. Guess who's back? Back again. Trolls are back. Tell someone. It's not really a word. We'll go with it. Whatever. Yeah, Zul'Gurub and Zul'Aman back. My opinions, I've done Zul'Gurub, with the exception of the last boss, because we only had 4 people. I intend to do the whole lot over the weekend in Zul'Aman as well. I'll talk to you mostly about Zul'Gurub, because that's what I have most experience in, and I will analyse the instance as regards to what they've managed to do there, and whether or not it is okay to rehash something if you are going to change the vast majority of the bosses. An interesting debate. Is the reuse of scenery okay if you change the mechanics of the encounters within said scenery? An intriguing idea. An unfortunate floodgates argument, perhaps. Coming up a little bit later on the show. And of course, the end of the show, it'll be your chance to contribute. You can email into the Melodic at gmail.com with the subject line, Illusion of Choice. Would you lay it for dramatic effect? It is delicious. Yep, email in. The best topic will, in fact, be chosen for the last 15 minutes of the show. We'll cap off with shout-outs, as we always do. And so on and so forth. Okay. Right. what's going on this week? Well, not an awful lot, really. Nothing that should be really relevant to the Blue Plz viewers or listeners or whatever. Although what will be relevant is that there will not be a show next week because I will be in Sweden. Skellefteå, or whatever the hell it is, yeah. I will be there. It will be cold. I'm told, oh, you'll regret it, it's so cold. I live in Newcastle, I don't care, I'll come in a t-shirt and shorts and I'll be perfectly happy. And then I might hit somebody with a broken bottle and say, "Wee aye, man! You daft cunt like." Yeah, it is a possibility. Whatever the case, looking forward to going there, but there will not be a Blue Plz because I'm going over there to check out Magica. I will be bringing back some footage. It will be developer commentary, there'll be a lot of it, and it will also include an exclusive on the subject of Magica Vietnam. Oh yes. Mainstream gaming media be damned! YouTube is where it's at, folks. Seems like Arrowhead were a little bit... well, they were a little bit happy with the coverage they got, which is cool. I like their game. Their game's awesome. It deserves it. As regards to Magica this evening, those of you listening live, it will most likely go out, but we had some major problems. Basically, Simon's internet kept falling over, so we had all manner of things, and I need to do some heavy editing on it. It should come out tonight, hopefully, as should Azeroth Daily eventually, although that's probably going to be past midnight at this rate. I'm just making you aware that that's going to be happening. It sucks, but like I say, it's a big pile of work that needs doing, and Magica usually doesn't take that long, but in this case, it's going to take a freaking age. Not looking forward to the rest of the editing on that. I was doing it before the show, and trust me, it was not making me happy. I think that about covers it, as far as I'm aware. With the exception of... actually, will there be a show then? I don't think there will either. Yeah, 25th probably won't have a show either, because I'm fairly sure I'm up in Edinburgh doing some casting, but whatever the case, I'll let you know closer to the time. Well. Aside from that, little bit of drama. People are well aware of the drama, etc., etc. And I will be talking about it in great detail once the mailbag section is done, and we've had our nice little music break, we've all calmed ourselves the hell down. I hope. You won't calm yourselves the hell down, I know it. But, yeah, we'll be talking a little bit about that. All I really want to say on the subject now is the fact that First Impressions video is, in fact, First Impressions. And that's really all there is to it. If you're not looking for an opinion, watching an opinion piece is kind of dumb. It's this whole, stop disliking things that I like. You don't need my validation. You don't need a pat on the head. You're not 3 years old, for God's sake. Nor are you a dog. Dog needs approval for not pissing in the corner. Pat, pat, pat. My God, you are human beings. You can make your decisions on your own. Okay. Interesting. Well, it's probably time, I think. Seems like a reasonable time. Where the hell's the... there it is, yes. I did wonder where it went. No, it's not this button.
You.
That guy's gonna hate me. I can tell you that for a fact. It's mail time, folks!
Mail time! That sounds like it's mail time! Here's the mail.
It never fails.
It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes,
I want to wail.
Yes, indeed, folks. It is mail time. That would be the time where we read the mail. The mail. The mail. The mail. Oh, dear. People are making comics. Footman is making comics. Footman should make a post on our forums for his comics. He has something about Ragnaros delayed, also about new MMO. Hit button, fireball. So, I love it. I love it. Yes, you should go post these on the forums, Footman. Seriously, they are amusing. You guys can't actually see it here, but go check the forums. Hopefully it will appear. This one is coming in from Mogrid on SteamWheel Cartel US, and he says this: Dear TB, I would like to hear what you expect to see in future raid patches. Well. With many guilds having beaten the heroic modes of arguably some of the best raids we've ever seen, what do you think will be coming next? Will Blizzard begin turning up the difficulty more, hold the current difficulty curve, or cave into the Wrath Babies again? Also, how would you answer now, compared to the way that you would have answered at various points during Wrath of the Lich King? Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Okay. Right. Well, okay. Thinky. Now, I wouldn't say that many guilds have beaten the heroic modes. I mean, if we go to WoW Progress, we can find out exactly how many have. So let's go and have a look. So, if we have a look at heroic modes, yeah? Let's have a look at this. They haven't been beaten by a lot many people. I mean, Harfus Wormbreaker is the most killed heroic boss. And it's been killed by 6,629 guilds. Compare that to the most killed normal mode boss, which is Magmor at 43,789 guilds. That's a pretty big difference, guys. It's a pretty significant. That's, I believe, less than 1 in 5 guilds who have killed a normal mode boss who have then also gone on to kill a heroic boss. It's fairly considerably low, honestly. And then we're looking at the other bosses. I mean, Sinestra's only been killed by 41. Cho'Gall's only been killed by 69 guilds. Ascendant Council by 92. Valiant and Thoralion 241. Which I might is a hilarious drop, by the way. 14.16% of the guilds have killed Harfus Wormbreaker, and 0.51% of them have killed Valiant and Thoralion, the second boss in that dungeon. There was such a massive drop between Harfus Wormbreaker and everything else. You lose over 1/3 of guilds that have killed Harfus Wormbreaker have not killed Chimeran, yeah? And then you get another drop at that point, whereby half of those who have killed Chimeran have also then gone on to kill Atramides and Meloriac. Yeah, it's pretty damn hardcore. So I wouldn't say that a lot of guilds have beat the heroic modes. Some have. Do I think that's the right amount of numbers? Yeah, probably. Honestly. Isn't that what heroic modes are for? That's what they're supposed to be for, right? I don't know. I don't know. It's... The problem right now that I see is the fact that 2 difficulty modes are not enough. It's as simple as that. It comes down to Blizzard turning around and saying, well, normal modes are for people to see the content and heroic modes are for the people who actually want to challenge. Well, as you can very clearly see, there's this massive gap between the two. Now, is that because normal modes are too easy? Is that because heroic modes are too hard? Is that because people just don't care about heroics? We don't know. That's the funny thing. We do not know. We have not even the slightest clue. Not a clue. And that, to me, is a little bit disturbing. We don't know exactly why it is that people are not getting as far as you might think. Hum-de-hum. Is there any way to actually analyze that? The answer is no. There is not. There is no way at all to properly analyze how that works. We simply do not know. So, if you're going to have this big jump where one is just, oh, this is the see the content, and the other is, oh, well, this content is going to kill you horribly, then you're going to have problems for what you want to do in the future. So, what are they going to be doing after that? Will they turn up the difficulty even more? I don't know. Will they? Won't they? It's really impossible to predict. Honestly, it is. Why wouldn't it be? Why would it not be impossible to predict? It is such a hard thing. So, I would say, honestly, that, yeah, they will probably ramp it up a little bit. Just a bit. Will they cave to the Wrath Babies? Well, the thing is they don't need to. They already have. Bear this in mind. What I'm talking about specifically is the badge system. The badge system effectively allows everybody to skip the first tier of content. If they are not good enough to beat it, it'll be okay, because you're going to get gear anyway. Problem, is it not? That's the issue. You might say, well, what if they cave to Wrath Babies? They have since the very start, you know? The very start of this expansion, they caved with the badge system. And they might not even think that they did, but they have. That design philosophy appeals to people that are too lazy. Yes, too lazy and not good enough to do the content. Because it's okay, it doesn't matter if you're too lazy, because you will be able to skip it. You will. I don't care. I'll just wait for the next content patch. Go to 5-mans. Give me my wonderful tier 11, because that's what I'm going to be getting from running 5-mans. And hey, if I so desire in 4.1, I can get some item level 353, but, you know, I don't object too much to that. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on the show anyway. I think the concern more to me is that you're going to be not getting item level 343, 353 even, but item level 359 when we get to patch 4.2 when the Firelands actually comes out, and when they ramp the badges up one. Yeah, that ain't good. Not good. Not good. So, the other part of the question, if I remember correctly, was what would you have said at various points during Wrath? Probably the same thing, honestly. I mean, Wrath was just so depressing. I think you heard me speak about this over and over and over again on this particular subject, and just saying that, actually trying to convey this overarching sense of disappointment with the way that Blizzard had actually set things up within Wrath of the Lich King. I think I've probably got more hope for raid content now than I did during Wrath. You know, Wrath just seemed to be going off in a horrible tailspin, but you got to bear in mind that the content within Cataclysm is effectively the same as Wrath, only they've got multiple dungeons per tier. The thing is, they're not going to have multiple dungeons per tier in patch 4.2. We know this. That tier is going to consist of one dungeon again, and that concerns me quite a lot. So, I don't know how many lessons they've really learned, and that's a little bit disturbing. Whatever the case, we're going to be talking a little bit about WoW clones after the break and the subject of Rift. My name is TotalBiscuit. You're listening to Blue Plz right here on cynicalbrit.com. We'll play a little bit of Kamelot. That sounds like a good idea. It's called Descent of the Archangel. I'll be right back after this. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed to comply with copyright law. If you'd like to hear the music, tune into the live stream on Fridays at 8 p.m. GMT. That's 3 p.m. EST, only on cynicalbrit.com. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Blue Plz right here on cynicalbrit.com. Right. Let's do the Rift thing, shall we? I'm going to say, oh, why are you talking about Rift? You talked about Rift last week. Bloody, bloody, blah, ad infinitum. No, we're not talking about Rift. We're talking about WoW clones and the context of Rift. Pretty damn different, in my honest opinion. But, you talked about... Oh, Christ. Shut up! My God. I tell you, you could give a robot a headache. Unbelievable. Right. So, let's talk about it, shall we? So, I'm going to talk about the WTF is that I did about Rift. Here's the thing, right? First impressions content is just that. It is first impressions. First impressions matter. They do. They matter. So, if you go into a game and everything you see is immediately recognizable because it is basically a clone of a game that you have seen previously, then you would tend to have this impression that the game is a clone of something you have seen previously, which of course would be entirely factually accurate. It is. The vast majority of the content is the same as WoW's. Did I say that was a bad thing? No, which is why we're going to be talking about this whole concept of the WoW clone, and the fact that, of course, people will claim that WoW is a clone of everything else, and clone and derivative and clone and the attack of the bloody clones. That is what they will say. My. I'm going to go on and say that anyone who thought that I won't even call it a review, because it's not. It's first impressions. Since when has WTF is ever been a review? It's a blind first impressions. If you take that as a review, you are unbelievably dumb. I have to say this. It's not reasonable to make a cut and dry assessment of a game after playing it for 30 minutes. It's not reasonable. Which is why it's never ever been about that. First impressions matter. They are not the only thing that matters, though. They are not the only thing. You wanted my opinion, I gave you my opinion, and there you cried about it. Good God. It's crazy, really, when you think about it. It shows why other people, indeed other organizations, don't actually give viewers what they want, quote-unquote, because they don't actually know what they want. In my opinion, what people actually wanted was validation. They wanted a pat on the head. Oh, you pre-ordered this $60 MMO? Well done. Well done. You are great. You are so good. You are such a brave gamer for taking that step. I applaud you. Indeed, I will play for you a song of triumph. A wonderful, wonderful song of triumph. You will get a 21 frickin' gun salute for your bravery. Is that what you wanted? Is it? Are you nuts? What the hell did you think I was going to think of the game? If you know anything about the game, then you know exactly just how much like WoW it actually is. It really, really is. Especially, I might add, after a couple of weeks ago, me saying, I don't want to play another hotkey MMO. What did you think was going to happen? I don't want to play another hotkey MMO. I am totally burned out on hotkey MMOs, and as far as I'm concerned, hotkey MMOs have nowhere left to go. TotalBiscuit, will you play this hotkey MMO for us? It'll be amazing. I want to review. I want to hear your opinion on this hotkey MMO that you have said time and time again. You have no sodding interest in playing. Please, give us a video. Oh, you made a video whereby I didn't universally praise this game that I happen to pre-order and love? Down with you! Cast ye from atop the highest frickin' pinnacle! Please, good God, are you absolutely out of your minds? Unbelievable, really. And the funny thing is that video could have been 27 minutes long, could have been my first impressions, I could have just left it there. But the majority of that video was not me talking. It was Dave talking. It was Fear the Flames. Any of you have been on an event, you know who that guy is. Very solid individual. Knows his stuff. He's been playing beta in Rift for ages. He knows the game inside out. The funny thing is, I had a couple of people bitching like, oh, I did do the raid content. Well done, raid content was not available in the beta. It went up to level 45, so you couldn't do the end game content. But if you watched the videos by Tryon, and you listened to the interviews, and you read the information, then you would know exactly what was happening. Which, of course, he did, which is why he was an invaluable addition to the video. Hey, let's have a big discussion. Let's talk about the end game. Let's inform people and help them make a choice. I am not here to validate your purchase that you have already made. I do not care. You shouldn't care. You bought the game. Whether or not you like the game is up to you. That is your decision, and nobody has the right to tell you that you're wrong. If you like games we do not like, that is your own decision, and you should not be condemned for it. This ridiculous fanboyism within games and within the gaming community in general, whether it be console to console warfare, whether it be console versus PC, or vice versa, whether or not it be game versus game, genre versus genre, or even region versus region, it does not matter. It is dumb. It is stupid. It's a freaking hobby. You do it to enjoy yourselves. Nobody has the right to tell you that your hobby sucks. And that you shouldn't be doing it. It's entirely up to you. What you do with your free time is entirely up to you, which means you should require zero validation. Especially not from some random guy on the internet you've never met. Unbelievable. No, that video was to inform people that didn't know much about Rift. And I will challenge any of you to say that that video was not informative, because it was. The first part addressed my concerns that it would pretty much be a WoW clone in almost all respects. And look, it was, to the point where it was validated, indeed, by the opinions of Dave, who went into the second part of the video and told you, hey, look, it's pretty much a WoW clone, but here are the differences. Here's what it does. Here's why WoW players might like it. Make up your own damn mind. How could it have been any more unbiased? considering it was an opinion piece. That is the least biased opinion piece I've ever heard in my life. And yes, that might be blowing my own trumpet. I don't goddamn care. I'm not going to blow somebody else's trumpet. Not only is that disgusting, but you can get diseases from it. Besides, I don't like brass instruments. So here's the thing. Here's the sticking point, and here is the main centerpiece of this particular topic. The sticking point for a lot of people was me calling it a WoW clone, because apparently that's some kind of derogatory term, like I just kicked a baby in the face. Something along those lines, it would appear. Calling something a WoW clone, you might as well call them Hitler. God. Are you serious? What? Bear in mind, most of the guys subscribe to my YouTube channel are subscribed because they like World of Warcraft. Yeah, they play WoW. My most watched series is a WoW series. My most watched videos are WoW videos. Of course they are. Why would they not be? After being in the community and producing media for 6 damn years, of course it will be World of Warcraft. And of course most of the people that follow me are interested in World of Warcraft. Which means that they should not view WoW Clone as a bad thing. Why? Because they've been playing it for as long as me. You know that it's a good game. For all of its faults, and for all of the nonsense that went on within World of Warcraft and the bad changes that have happened over the past 6 years, you know that overall, for all that's happened, WoW is still the best MMO on the market. That is just a fact, ladies and gentlemen. It has been lauded critically over and over and over and over and over again. Its subscriber base is constantly going up. Its production values constantly increase. It is looked up to by every other MMO developer on the planet as the gold industry standard of what to do. And look, Tryon did exactly that. They looked up to it as the gold industry standard and they said, this is what WoW does right. We're going to take all of that, pretty much whole cloth. We'll make some minor changes, but nothing particularly revolutionary in any way. Like somebody argued saying, oh, the talent trees aren't the same because of this, this, and this ability. Right, so because 5% of the talent trees are different, the 95% aren't the same? Cut off it! Stop fixating on little details and look at the big picture. The big picture is, they took the stuff that worked. For frick's sake, Fire Blast is on the same cooldown as it is in WoW. It's an 8-second, it's the same frickin' spell! Oh, wow! You know, that's something that kind of boggled my mind, but I went back and realised, of course it is. It worked for World of Warcraft. Tryon thinks it can work for them. Is being a WoW clone inherently a bad thing? No! And at no point was it ever said that it was. It surprises me, honestly, that we haven't seen more close-cut WoW clones. What we've seen are games trying to deviate from the formula in a fairly radical fashion. Warhammer Online. There are elements of it that are cloned from WoW, just in the same way that WoW was cloned from other games. This is the difference between Rift and WoW. WoW is derivative, Rift is, for the most part, a clone. We're not talking about derivative here. When 80 to 90% of the elements in your game are taken whole cloth from another game, that's not derivative, that's a clone. And yeah, of course you can make changes. Of course it's not going to be identical. And you might think, well, the dictionary definition says... Oh, please. If you cloned a human being, they would not grow up to be identical in every way. They would look the same, they would talk the same, many of their mannerisms would be the same, but they could still get a different haircut, they could still follow a separate career path, one could get kicked out of school and one could not. They would still be clones. That applies to Rift. WoW is derivative in the fact that it took all of these elements from different MMOs previous to that. It did not clone EverQuest. 90% of WoW is not the same as the original EverQuest. It is not. EverQuest eventually evolved, and now it's still open, for God's sake. And it evolved things like instances as a result of World of Warcraft, for God's sake. You can't say that WoW cloned EverQuest, and then it turns around and EverQuest decides to clone WoW. How the hell does that work? That is what I call MMO inbreeding, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about MMOs with 4 toes here. Well, maybe 6. That's disturbing, is it not? No, what we're talking about is wholesale taking things that work from a game that is successful. There is nothing necessarily wrong with that inherently. But, and this is the most important thing, and this is the part of the video that people should have paid attention to. But, That causes a big problem if you are looking to leech subscribers from WoW. And please do not admit that you are... Just don't claim it. Do not even have the audacity to claim that Rift is not trying to do just that. Of course it is. Look at the advertising. Look at how it was designed. Of course it's trying to take subscribers from WoW. The way that it's doing it is by offering a very similar and immediately familiar experience that fixes some issues with World of Warcraft. I would like to tell you what those issues are. I will have a quick drink before I do so. 1. Graphics. Some people do not like the graphic style of World of Warcraft. They find it childish, they find it outdated. What does Rift do? Rift produces a more sort of grim, dark, and more realistic look to the game. It's like Aeon, only not so ridiculously frickin' weeaboo. Good idea. Second, endgame content. Now you might say, well, that's not a change. That's not change. Well, it kind of is. Because not only is it a change from WoW in the fact that they are offering a lot of raid content from the very start, which WoW actually did not. I'd like to point this out. It did not have a lot of raid content at launch. Or any. I mean, it had Onyxia, which I might add was bugged initially. It then eventually opened the Molten Core and went on from there when they realized that actually this is what people wanted to do. So, Rift launches with quite a lot of it. Cool. Okay. So, the change is that it has it from the start. And this is actually a change from other games that have tried to clone WoW that have not had enough endgame content to keep people playing. Third, a dynamic world. There is one element within the game that gives it this dynamic element, and that's the rift system, yeah? Rifts appear and you have to fight them off and close them. If you do not, then it can take over outposts and you will be unable to quest them until you take it back. That is something that a lot of people have been asking for, including myself. My god, was it like the 3rd or 4th episode of Blue Plz ever in 2005 where I asked for something like that? And I have wanted that for ages. I've wanted that dynamic element to be there. And it's not. But it is within Rift. They took advantage of that. 4. The sense of mystery. This isn't even a change. It isn't. It's just the benefit of having a new game with a sufficiently expansive terrain set. Yeah? We're talking about the idea that you can have a game whereby you are able to explore again because people have no idea about anything within the world. Whereas WoW has been explored, like every inch of WoW is documented. Every inch. There is nothing left to see. Even with the Cataclysm, that just remodeled areas, it did not completely redo them. Everything has been explored, everything has been data mined, everything has been documented. And again, that's not even a conscious change from Trion, but that is just the reality of what the game actually offers. And 5. Customizability of character. The idea that you can mix and match talent trees and create a custom class. Now, this is kind of an illusion of choice. I say kind of, because of what I've seen, it's not a custom class so much as it is just a bunch of talent trees. And some of them just don't work well. I tried mixing up, say, Necromancer and Elementalist. There's no point, because the main features of both of those trees that I could see, certainly at the low levels, were the fact that you've got a pet, but you couldn't have both out at the same time, so why bother? So it's like, well, I can't mix this and that, and oh, well, if I mix Necromancer with Pyromancer, then you've got problems there, because they don't synergize very well, you get a bunch of abilities that are totally useless. So it's a bit of an illusion of choice, but it's nice to have it there nonetheless, and again, that was something that people were complaining about, that classes were too cookie-cutter within World of Warcraft. But did I ever say that being a WoW clone was bad? Only if you are sick to death of the hotkey-based MMOs like I am. As I said at the end, and you should have listened to the whole thing, particularly the interview segment, if you want to listen to the first 10 minutes, you're retarded. I should just point that out. Oh, that's all he ever said. You listened to about, yes, indeed, less than 15% of the interview and the entire video, then you are stupid. I'm sorry, you do not get to make those claims without hearing everything. You just don't. The other side of the coin is that there are some people that want a very familiar and similar experience to WoW, but there are certain things that they want to be changed. They want a grimmer, darker, and less silly world. Because let's be honest, actually, Cataclysm has got to the point where it's really dumb in a lot of places. Huge amounts of references, huge amounts of silly humor, huge amounts of crazy quests, you know, wacky ho-ho-ho kind of things. Day Deathwing came, prime example, you know, talk about ridiculous. And Rift's a bit more grimdark, and people are looking maybe for a bit more of a grown-up experience. It's not to say that Rift doesn't have stupid things, i.e. the Kegger Rift. Yes, there is a Rift whereby a bunch of druids come out of it and start having a giant Kegger party. There are still silly things within it. But whatever the case, those are the kind of people that it can attract, and then the other kind, i.e. those who are sick of the way that WoW does things, they're the kind of people it will turn off. But did I ever say that being a clone was a bad thing? No, it's not. Because at the end of the day, you are trying to appeal to a certain demographic of the market. That demographic does not include me, but it may include others. It is not a bad thing that the game is a WoW clone. Not inherently. Not objectively. But it will define whether or not people are interested in it. It is a defining characteristic of the game, the fact that it is so similar. And you cannot get away from that, and Trion didn't try to. They did not. They compared themselves to WoW all the way through, even with that advertising game that says, we are not in Azeroth anymore. But you kind of are. You really, really are. My name is TotalBiscuit. You are listening to Blue Plz right here on CynicalBrit.com. When we come back after the break, we'll be talking about the Firelands and the fact that you will not have them. Good God. You cannot. You cannot have. So, music-wise, what should we play? Play a little bit of Nightrage. Sounds like a good idea. This is called Among Wolves. Enjoy. You are listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed to comply with copyright law. If you'd like to hear the music, tune into the live stream on Fridays at 8 p.m. GMT. That's 3 p.m. EST, only on CynicalBrit.com. I've been watching way too much of regular, ordinary Swedish mealtime, by the way. You can probably hear it in the background if I put it through the speakers. It's the best. Side pork pandemonium. Oh, great. I fucking love Sweden, man. I don't know what it is about Sweden and Swedish people that is so damn enthralling, but I'm looking forward to going. Oh, well, whatever the case. We're going to be talking a little bit about Firelands. Except we won't, because it's not here! No Swedish mealtime and no Swedish Firelands! Dunker, dunker! Mohammed Jihad. Oh. Okay. So, the big deal is the fact that this amazing raid that we were promised in patch 4.1, Blizz promised me a pony! In this case, Blizz promised Ragnaros without legs, damn it! Oh. Why would you add legs to Ragnaros? Why would you do this? What is the point? Oh my god. It's so redundant and stupid, and it ruins the aesthetic of the best boss of all time! Why would you do it? It's like taking a Bugatti Veyron and putting legs on that! What is the point? It serves no practical purpose! What, do you want to wear trousers now? Oh, sir, you cannot possibly be allowed into our country club! And then he goes, by fire, be purged! And it doesn't actually work, because country clubs are immune, in fact, to the ministrations of an elemental lord. So he has to go home and conform to the damn dress code! I think not. Ragnaros needs no pitiful legs. What the hell is the point in that? What's next? Chthon? Little caterpillar Chthon wandering around? A Magmor millipede. In fact, that is actually a millipede, isn't it? It's just like adding legs to Magmor so that he can walk around the place. I want to go to the shops, and I'm stuck in this big lava pit. Just add the legs. It'll be okay. Why? I do not know. I cannot fathom. Why would you do this? Brrr. Brrr. Bow, 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 bow. Bow, bow. Bow. No legs for Ragnaros. That's why they delayed it, folks. That's the reason why it's not out in patch 4.1, because they realised just how angry people were with the fact that Ragnaros has bloody legs. They're like, oh, well, we're going to have to delay it an entire patch, folks, so we can remove the legs from Ragnaros. Sorry about this. It was hard-coded into our very souls. We need some kind of ritual to rip it free and cast it out in some kind of holy rite. Maybe not. That might be slightly exaggerated, possibly. It might not be what they're trying to do. No legs. Dunker. So, the announcement was that Blizzard would be bringing the Firelands in patch 4.2 as opposed to patch 4.1. This was initially announced in an interview with Eurogamer. Yes. I believe it was last night, actually. Was it? Yes, it was, actually. It was at 33 minutes past midnight that I read that and immediately tweeted it. I was like, what the hell is this? So, the justification by lead producer J. Allen Brack is that players have not sufficiently advanced through the raid content that shipped with the third expansion. So it's like basically saying you can't have your dessert until you've eaten all your greens. That's what Blizzard is telling you here. You are not allowed to sup from the dessert, which would be okay if you were talking to a child, not so great if you were talking to a paying customer. I'm sorry, we're not going to add... Think about it. Think of how unacceptable this would be in any other way. Think about it. So, BioWare decides they're not going to release the DLC for their games just yet because not enough people on their statistics have beaten the game. Do you think that would fly anywhere else? No! It shouldn't fly in an MMO either, because I tell you what. The delay for 4.2, we don't know what it's going to be. They're saying that it's going to come soon after 4.1, yeah? The previously announced Firelands Raid will be part of content update 4.2, which will come soon after 4.1. What does that even mean? Soon? We know what Blizzard means by soon. They're effectively on Valve time. Don't use the word soon if you're Blizzard. Are you crazy? Lord. What a terrible idea. So... we don't know when it's coming, but we do know the patch 4.1, according to them, is about 2 months off. Yes, that is a quote. That is a quote. Brack indicated the patch 4.1 is roughly 2 months away. We started to build a PTR build so that players could have a look at it, and usually we're on the PTR for 6 to 8-ish weeks, plus or minus 4 weeks, I would say. So that's probably where we are in terms of development of patch 4.1. So we've got to wait 2 months until the rehashed content comes in. And then how long for the raid? What's the point of this? Oh, we want to move away from this monolithic content patch. If you're then going to 2 weeks later give us the raid. Or what, you're just going to hold it back until a certain number of players beats the content? Bugger that! We're paying by the month! Why would you do this? Why would you hold back content that we are actually paying you to develop? That's nuts! That's crazy! It does not benefit anybody for you to do that. Now, the justification of this came along after the fact. I mean, I'll be honest, this interview comes off really bad because it's so nebulous. Oh, we want to move away from those monolithic content patches. Why? We're not going to tell you. It's a secret! Now, Bashiok comes along with this. And here we go. Here's the quote. By now you've seen that blah, 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 and you might be asking, where's the Firelands? Our goal with each major patch release, and especially with this expansion, is to learn from the past and use that knowledge to improve the game as we move forward. One of our biggest regrets in the pacing of Wrath of the Lich King was the Crusaders Colosseum. The Trial of the Champion 10 and 25-player raid were released when many raiders were still busy with Ulduar, which meant a premature end to Ulduar raiding, and a lot of players didn't get the chance to experience all of Ulduar's content during the normal expansion process. So in other words, what you're saying is that you feel a bunch of white liberal guilt for the fact that the best dungeon that you put in the entirety of that godforsaken expansion was ignored. And you think it was because you released it too soon? You are adorable! But you're wrong. Let me tell you why Ulduar ceased to be relevant. Ulduar ceased to be relevant because you could get better loot in a dungeon that was way easier. Not only that, but you could then get Ulduar level loot from running heroics. Badgers, 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 ladies and gentlemen. You are indeed drowning in the damn things. And let's not indeed mention the fact that you could get better gear from the 5-man. The 5-man, folks. The 5-man. Why would you do this? I do not know. It is a mystery. The way that a lot of the items were itemized was just better. The item level in the 5-man was slightly below. In terms of the 25-man version of Ulduar, not in terms of the 10-man. You get equal level gear, if I recall correctly. Pretty much, give or take. It was about item 219, wasn't it? Yeah, that's about the 10-man gear. So, why is it that people abandoned Ulduar? Was it because you brought in the dungeons too quickly, or was it because at that point there was literally no reason to go there, because the gear you could acquire from TOC, which I might add could be beaten in under an hour, was better? That was why. That's the reason that happened. It's not because you brought in TOC too early, it's because TOC sucked. Maybe you did bring it in too early. And by too early, I mean it wasn't any good. And maybe it could have benefited from a couple of months more development. Is Firelands rubbish? I certainly hope not, considering Firelands was supposed to come in with the Cataclysm launch. What does that remind you of, folks? Yes, Ulduar was supposed to come in with the Wrath of the Lich King launch. And Firelands was supposed to come in with the Cataclysm launch. Did it? No. No, it didn't. Well done on repeating history there, Blizzard. Please. It's a garbage assessment, and actually, what disturbs me most is the fact that Blizzard cannot see. They refuse to admit just how bad TOC actually was. TOC was rubbish. It is the worst raid dungeon they have ever made. And I did Molten Core for years, and that was bad. TOC is worse. TOC is the worst raid dungeon ever. And it is not just a case of bringing it in too early. I saw content in TBC that was brought in too early, quote unquote. We got the Tier 6 content way before people had finished with Tier 5. Did it matter? Hell no! No, it did not matter, because people actually look forward to having something ahead of them. It's like, look at this expanse of wonderful content, multiple dungeons per tier. It's joy! You know, that content came out while we were still finishing up with Tier 5. We weren't done. A lot of people weren't done. And you know what? It was cool because we had such a varied raid schedule, because we were still doing some Tier 5 content. We hadn't got everything we wanted from Tier 5. We hadn't done everything we wanted in Tier 5. Now, of course, the content was gated, so eventually, those of us who had got the stuff that we needed to go through to Tier 6, once we were able to do it, we went straight there. Did we complain? No. Oh my god, we can't get in here yet because we're not quite done. No! We did not complain. We did not. And I don't think the majority of people would actually complain here either. Why would they? What a wonderful, wonderful thing to be. What a wonderful thing it is to have horizons. I think that's what a lot of people have lost sight of. When you look at WoW raiding when you're stuck in a single tier, all you see in the future is a brick wall. when you have more than one tier available to you and a path of advancement through it, you see a wonderful open sky with possibilities and horizons in front of you, and you look forward, and you have something to aim for that isn't just an achievement point. You have entire new dungeons to shoot for and aim for. Do you think that it's a terrible thing? It's not. And all you need to do in order to make Firelands viable, you got to do two things. One, not screw around with the damn badge system. Leave the badge system in there as a method of getting geared up for raids quicker, and nothing else. Leave it as that. Allow people to follow the correct progression path. And when people say, oh, I want to do the new content, and they're not geared and they're not prepared, you are not prepared, then they don't get to beat it. And you know what? It's okay to have people dabble in it. Maybe make the first boss just that little bit easier. It happened in vanilla, and it was alright. We were not done with Anchorage when Naxxramas came out. So while we were fighting Cthulhu, we were dabbling. Yeah? We were dabbling in Naxxramas. We beat maybe 2 bosses in there before we beat Cthulhu. Because, let's be totally honest, that was all we really could beat. Because the rest of it was just too hard. You just couldn't do it. You needed better gear, you needed more experience, you needed to be a much tighter and cohesive raiding force to beat that. So, we didn't really care. We did a little bit of it, but it was okay for us to dabble and we didn't complain. I'm not suggesting a mega gating system like back in TBC. I mean, I think the idea of having to beat the last boss in order to go into the next one is stupid. I think that people should be assessed by their ability to kill the bosses and nothing else. The more skill-based the game is, the better. What you need to do is to ensure that gear does not become the overriding force and that gear is not given out too easily or too cheaply. The badge system is what has gotten you to this stage. It is what did you in terms of the Old War transition. That is what killed Old War, because it was much easier to acquire the gear and just go on to the next tier than it was to actually fight the Old War bosses. That can be changed. So Blizzard has learned the entirely wrong lesson from the Old War to TOC transition. Entirely wrong. You want to know why? Because Blizzard, in this case, is incapable of critiquing their own content and incapable of accepting and admitting that TOC was bad, lazy, horrible, awful, worst frickin' ever raid content that they have ever made, ever. And if they accept that, then a whole horizon of possibilities will open up. Or maybe just a maw of madness to swallow them whole. Either way, I'd find it a little bit more honest and less disingenuous. My name is TotalBiscuit, you're listening to Blue Plz right here on cynicalbrit.com. I'll be right back after this, folks. You see, Blizzard are stuck in a cage. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed to comply with copyright law. If you'd like to hear the music, tune into the live stream on Fridays at 8 p.m. GMT. That's 3 p.m. EST, only on cynicalbrit.com. So yeah, I'm pretty quiet on Vent, you know? Kinda laid back. Oh my god, you noobs! DPS the ends! Just like to chill out, kick back, relax, raid with my friends. No worries, no stress. How is that even possible? Are you 7 different shades of stupid? Move out of the fire! It's important to make sure my orders come through loud and clear. I'm a bit, well, shy. I'm not particularly loud or anything. My last event server was really poor quality. Tank it, for heaven's sakes! Tank it! How can you be so monumentally freaking terrible? Well, I discovered UGT Ventrilo servers. Amazing quality, great prices, and they're so reliable. Pretty much perfect in every way. I mean, I was a pretty calm guy before, and now I've got even less reasons to worry. Why? Why do I raid with you people? Why not get one of your own? UGTservers.com. That's UGTservers.com. You'll be glad that you did. It's really helped me find my zen, you know? Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Blue Plz right here on cynicalbrit.com. This myself, TotalBiscuit. It's been an interesting day, I have to say. I'll tell you, I have been wearing my fireproof suit the entire day, my fireproof hat as well. Whew, getting a bit hot in here, folks. Good lord. Well, let's talk about Zul'Gurub. And this would probably be the bit where you'd think I'd be at my most ranty, and I'm gonna have to disappoint you. Yes. Okay. So, let's be honest here. Patch 4.1, in terms of a content patch, is really bad. I would like to do a comparison, if I may. We're going to go on a little field trip. We're going to have a look at patches in World of Warcraft with the word 0.1 after them, the digit 0.1. Let me tell you what was in patch 2.1. Patch 2.1 was the Black Temple. Yes, the Black Temple, ladies and gentlemen. It came with the Black Temple and Mount Hyjal. It was a double raid patch. Not only that, but it introduced Druid Epic Flying Form, the Ethereum Prison and Sketis, as well as the Netherdrake questline and the Orgrimmar daily questline. And a new arena. Some patch that was. Holy hell. Damn right. You wanna know what the scary thing was? The really terrifying thing about when that patch actually came out? When was the Burning Crusade launched? Can you remember? I'm about to find out, because I'm fairly sure it was sometime earlier in that year. The Burning Crusade was launched on January 16, 2007. You want to know when patch 2.1 came out? 22nd of May, 2007. Whoa! Yes! Indeed! 4 months! 4 months to get 2 entire raid dungeons of a high quality, a bunch of different daily questing hubs, a new epic flight form, several new factions, and a new arena. That's what I call a 0.1 patch, folks. But what about patch 3.1? Let's go on a field trip. What was patch 3.1 all about, ladies and gentlemen? The Secrets of Ulduar. What did that have? Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, had the entirety of a 14-boss raid dungeon consisting of many, many, many wonderful hard modes. Yes, indeed. The introduction of mass hard modes in a single dungeon, something that hadn't really been done before. It had been introduced with Sartharion, but of course that was a full-on. Yes, that was a full-on set. The Argent Tournament, folks. The Argent Tournament started off. The daily questing lines, the various hubs there as well. Oh, yeah. And a significant talent revision. Also, that was when ground mounts were able to swim. Yeah. That, I would call a fairly significant patch. When did that come out? April 14th, 2009. That was 6 months after the release of World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King. 4.1! Ladies and gentlemen. Flying mounts can now be used in the Ghostlands. Zul'Gurub and Zul'Gurub have been rehashed into 5-mans. And there are now profession trainers in all capitals. And aside from some minor balance changes, that's pretty much about it. Well, you weren't kidding when you wanted to get away from those monolithic bloody patches, were you? Because this is damn insignificant. And we're looking at a 6-month gap. 5 to 6 months, give or take, between the launch of the game and that first patch. So, in terms of 0.1 patches, I have to say that this is probably the lamest. I wonder what happened in 1.1, actually. Let's go all the way back to that. What? Oh yeah, 1.1 was when they actually brought racials into the game. Holy hell! Yeah, that was on 7th of November 2004, folks. Yeah, that was kind of a big deal. That was actually when Onyxia came into the game. And the Molten Core. And Kodos. and a ton of other stuff. So yes, actually 4.1 is the lamest 0.1 patch in the world. Oh my god. 2 rehashed raid dungeons into 5-mans. That's what we're expected to swallow as the big follow-up patch content. Please. Not impressed at all. Indeed, why would I be? Entirely disturbing. Is it not? Not a fan. Not happy with that at all. So, let's talk a little bit about Zul'Gurub. I will talk about Zul'Gurub specifically because I know quite a bit about it. I have done it. I am aware of the nature of the content. What I am not aware of is why the hell they chose to put it back in the game. Let's talk about it. Zul'Gurub is a remodeled 5-man. It consists of not all of the bosses. 2 of the bosses are missing. I should point that out. The bat boss and the spider boss. They're gone. Those areas are blocked off. You can't get into them. So what it's got is it's got the snake. It's got a replacement for the tiger, which is not really a boss. It's just a mini-boss. It's got the panther. It's got a replacement for Jindo. And it then has Jindo himself, who is actually a replacement for Hakar. So, it's also got Bloodlord Mandakir, so that's what, 5 encounters, if I remember correctly. Snake, Panther, Mandakir, Zazil? Zanzil? Whatever. Yeah, Zanzil. And Jindo the Godbreaker. And then a few mini-bosses that really ain't anything. I mean, the Tiki Lord, pfft. That big demon guy's got like 1 million HP. Nobody cares. He's just a big mob. So, it's quite a bit smaller. What has changed? Well, the nature of most of the bosses has been altered quite significantly. I mean, the boss that I was most impressed with from what I saw... Bear in mind, I haven't seen Jindo the Godbreaker yet. That could be kind of cool. Once I do that, of course, you'll get video coverage of it. What I would say is that the way that the snake boss is designed is probably the most impressive. It is a very cool 5-man encounter. It really is. It's quite hard. It is quite hard. It'll probably get nerfed. It was actually one of the comments of our heroic raiders that were in there with us, and bear in mind they're like 4 out of 12 on heroic raid content, so they're not exactly pushovers. That puts us, I think... What would that put us in, actually? I'd be interested to know. I have to check our realm. Yeah, if we've done 4 raid encounters... Yeah, we'd pretty much be within sort of the top 800 in the world, I believe. Fairly impressive, really, when you think about it. So, those guys aren't any pushovers. They know exactly what they're doing. And one of them turned around and said that he thought the internal cooldown on the abilities of that particular boss was not amazing. It was not good enough. Yeah, we're actually ranked 4th on the realm. All ranked at the same, I might add, as everybody else other than Intuition. So we're kind of like joint 2nd. So yeah, those guys know what they're doing. So it is so hard to the point that a heroic raider is saying that it might need a little bit of a nerf. That's kind of cool. But the mechanics within it are very, very cool. The maze mechanic is awesome. One might even say amazing. Yes, thank you. Now. The maze mechanic is great. Really, really good. That's actually such an elegant solution to the random element of any fight that tries to zone you into different areas. Really. We're talking about stuff like, you remember, not Jaraxxus, no, you faced Jaraxxus. It was actually Malchezaar. Yeah, Malchezaar, whatever. Prince Malchezaar, yes. He had this tendency to annoy people. And the reason was that it would block them into areas because of the random nature of the encounter. Things could get really hard. Now, the way that they have now eliminated that is to make sure that the zoning within the Venoxus encounter, by zoning, I mean the idea of restricting movement based on things that will otherwise hurt you. It's actually a term from fighting games. Zoning is keeping people in a certain area of the screen that you want to by using different kinds of moves that will do so. Yeah? So, that's a fairly big deal. Now, that encounter works really well, and it's cool. As regards to the Panther, I'm not so impressed by the Panther. As far as I can tell, you can actually kill the Panthers before you go in there, so really the Panther doesn't have an awful lot other than the whole summoning of the Tigers thing. You know, kill the Panthers at the side, and everything is good and wonderful, and everybody's happy. So, not so concerned about that. The Panther was not an impressive boss. Zanzil is good, but he's way too basic. We beat him with 4 people on the first attempt, and we had no idea what was going on. So, that should concern you a little bit. That, for a second off last boss, bearing in mind that Jindo the Hexer was easily the penultimate boss in Zul'Gurub in terms of difficulty, it should concern you that his replacement is easily beaten, like, in one shot. Whereas we had to try a lot on Venoxus. We had to try quite a lot on Mandakir as well. Still unsure as to the Mandakir mechanics. I have to wonder if that whole watching you mechanic is still there, but there's no actual alert this time. Because the whole charging thing of him going and killing you and leveling up and stuff kind of sucks. But bear in mind that we got him down to 60k. Yep, 60k HP. That's 1% of his health with 4 people. So with 5, we could very easily destroy the guy. And it wouldn't even matter. So if there is a mechanic that you're supposed to involve, it can be easily brutalized. Whether or not it can be overgeared by people in 3, 4, 6 gear, which is what you're required to get in there, that remains questionable, but I'd say probably it can. With 5 people, yeah, I reckon you could do it very easily. So that fight is not going to be difficult with 5 people with the gear that you are required. Bear in mind, you need 3, 4, 6 to even get in there. So it's going to be 3, 4, 6 upwards. I think you could very easily do that in 3, 4, 6 gear without a question. You only gain a minor amount of extra damage from upgrading to 359 in the grand scheme of things. If you look at a percentage, you know, it's probably around 10%, maybe even less than that. Whatever the case, it doesn't matter. You can still very easily kill him. Healing doesn't matter in that fight because you get one shot by the charge mechanic, so it's not like that's going to make a difference. I wouldn't expect people to absolutely and totally destroy that. It's just not going to happen. As regards to the Godbreaker, I don't know anything about the Godbreaker, like I said before. And that kind of covers it, really, doesn't it? Yeah, I think it does. Aside from the mini-bosses, well, there's nothing really changed other than that, and those summonable bosses in the Madness room, they're still there, but that was an absolute pushover as well, so I don't expect anything particularly difficult there. However, just how acceptable was it to rehash? I'm not going to talk about Zul'Aman right now because I don't know much about it, but rehashing Zul'Gurub to me seems like it's a reuse of assets and not a reuse of mechanics, mostly. There are some reused mechanics, but there's reused mechanics everywhere, so you can't really criticize them for that. I think the main problem is that I don't get a feeling of nostalgia from going back in there. I get a feeling of boredom. Oh, great, I'm back in Zul'Gurub again! And a lot of it's quite similar. That doesn't really impress me, honestly. I would prefer a new dungeon with new stuff in it. It's like saying, I'll ask you this question. Would you have preferred the Forge of Souls? Or would you have preferred them to, say, remake Scholomance? Some of you might answer Scholomance, but I would say I'd prefer the way the Forge of Souls was set up, because the Forge of Souls was a new experience. It had new mobs in it, it had new bosses in it, it had new music in it, the ambience of the Forge of Souls was really cool, it had new visuals. That, to me, was much, much better than reusing an old dungeon, even though some people might get a nostalgia trip from it. I personally don't have any interest in another nostalgia trip. I think nostalgia is now highly overrated, and it comes down to the fact that I want new experiences. I do not want new experiences in an old shell. And I'm not going to totally criticize them for it, because yes, they have remodeled Zul'Gurub bosses in such a way that the dungeon is interesting, but I think it's much less interesting than it would have been if it were simply a brand new dungeon. And my concern is, where the hell's the Abyssal Maw? Why have we heard nothing about that? That was supposed to be coming in patch 4.1. Are we not going to get that now? Is that going to be it? Are we going to get rehashed content for 4.1? Is that going to be their grand slam? As new MMOs start to come out, as we see Rift launch, their grand slam is to bring onto the PTR 2 rehashed dungeons, and then announce that their raid content isn't coming till later. Are you just... I don't know, I feel that Blizzard is doing what I used to do in Populous, whereby I would beat the red team down to almost annihilation, and then I would switch, and then I would consist to rebuild my empire, and then beat down the blue team. That's what I'm feeling like right now. They are deliberately putting nails in their own coffin, so it'll be more challenging for them to get out for it later. Masochists! That's the only explanation I've got, folks. I don't know. I just don't know. It's confusing. Decent mechanics, reasonable bosses... Rehash? Why? Save time? Why would you need to save time, Blizzard? Really, how much are we paying you? My name is TotalBiscuit, you're listening to Blue Plz, right here on CynicalBrit.com. I'll be back after here with the illusion of choice. This one's called Lost to Apathy. It seems fairly appropriate. Enjoy.
You're listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed to comply with copyright law. If you'd like to hear the music, tune into the live stream on Fridays at 8 p.m. GMT. That's 3 p.m. EST, only on CynicalBrit.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, the illusion of joy. There's going to be a bit of a mystery illusion of choice because I haven't been reading any of them. I'm just going to pick one at random and see what happens. Let's have a look at it, shall we? On earth did I get those? The Murloc at gmail.com was the place to email in. Oh, this is good. We'll do this one. So it comes in from Gideon, who says, "Hi TB, I was just wondering what you thought of Blizzard's little offhand comment about implementing something they refer to as the looking for guild system and what the impact could be. I know we have no information right now beyond the name. Not true, I do. So any speculation is just that, but this could be a step towards solving a lot of complaining as regards to the game being more slanted towards guilds. One of the big problems is that putting players in touch with guilds has been an issue, either because the good guilds don't advertise or because players don't fancy going on and finding information about guilds outside of the game, as some guilds seem to want to make you work and beg and apply and things like that. But it would seem that any system that lets players and guilds get together would be good. Star Trek Online has something similar with the fleet system. You can search for fleets and apply to join. So it would seem that this can work. Well, okay. So, I can tell you about the Looking for Guild system because it is on the PTR in a very basic form. I made a very short video about it because there wasn't an awful lot to see. So what the Looking for Guild system allows you to do is you can open the Looking for Guild system and you can apply. You can apply for a guild. You can search for them based on various criteria. However, there are not a lot of criteria to search by. The current criteria are as follows: casual, moderate, and hardcore, and weekends and weekdays. That's it. Those are the only criteria you can currently use to search for anything. So, that is not what I call an amazing system. You can then apply to it by browsing the guilds that have come up from your search and then just clicking request membership, and you can send along a little message. Now, you can list your guild in a similar manner. You can also put a little message, kind of like the length of a guild message of the day, and that will appear in the browser. That will also appear in the browser with the various criteria, so if you're searching for a weekends-only guild, it will not show up those who raid only on weekdays, etc., etc. However, while it is a great idea, the system right now is nowhere near ready to go in. There is no question about that. So, let's talk about what needs to be in a system to make this successful. So for the last 6 years, guilds have primarily worked by a system of application, and that application system has been done externally. It's been done outside of the game. Why has it been done outside of the game? Because that's the most convenient way of doing it, ladies and gentlemen. It is. Without question. Much, much easier and more convenient. And you might think, well, TotalBiscuit, that's not convenient at all, but when you compare it to the other possibility, which is having to talk to people in-game and having a face-to-face interview, it is much more convenient to have an external forum whereby you ask people to leave their, yes, indeed, their applications. And we're talking about, you know, full-length applications here. Now, if this is going to work, what they have to do is implement something into the game which allows it to do just that. Proper application processes. Right now, there aren't any. That's bad. Not good, is it? No, no, no. Here's what a looking for guild system needs to be, in my opinion. It needs way more characteristics. 1. Casual, moderate, hardcore. Really? I think not. Thank you, Blizzard. We will not be having an enforcement of 3 mandatory and indeed arbitrary distinctions between the entire 12 million players that you have within your game. You can't split them down into 3 categories. Are you nuts? How do you define any of those things? Moderate's the stupidest thing. It's like, at least there's been some discussion about the idea of casual and hardcore. What the hell's moderate, for God's sake? I don't know. I can't decide. I put moderate. Bad. Secondly, folks, as I put the top on my bottle of Sicilian lemon water in a typically Swedish manner. Dunker, dunker. Weekends and weekdays? Really? You can't do that. If I can only raid on Tuesday and Thursday, and I apply for a guild that's weekdays, and I suddenly find out they raid on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm going to be a bit boned, aren't I? Oh, it's so horrible. Right. So that needs to be changed. That needs to be very specific. Yeah? It's got to be on a day basis, and then it's got to be what? Evenings? Daytime? Late night? Mornings? What about these things? You know, we need to have this in the game. That's got to be there. Now, bear in mind, it is optional to list your guild for this. So, this is the problem. If it remains in the way that it's currently set up, nobody's going to use the bloody thing. And everything that's going to be in there will be bad guilds. Because good guilds want to be more discerning in the people that they bring in. So, no. You need more options there. You also... Where the hell is the option for PvP guilds? My God. You realise these exist, right? I need to make this very, very, very clear. Guys, it exists. There are PvP guilds. There are quite a few of them, in fact. Why is that not mentioned? What about leveling guilds? What about guilds that have really no focus on raiding of any description? Why can we not have various criteria for that? Why can we not have, you know, flags for this guild actively does, what, PvP, PvE? Who knows? I'm not interested in taking this call. It can go away. Thank you. No! Shut up. There we go. Off and on. So, more flags required. Not only that, though. Let's go a stage further. Why not have an in-game application system? What is stopping you? It's such a basic idea as well. It really is such a very, very, very basic idea. No, I'm not interested. Go away. Good lord. Seriously, hang on a second. This phone, this house phone, I might add. It's going over here. Thank you. Might have sort of thrown that down the stairs. Hope it's okay. Anyway. Why not have an in-game application system? What is stopping you from having an in-game application system? Nothing! Why can we not set out a set of fields which people have to fill in, and then they can submit an application in the actual game itself? What is stopping you? Nothing. Nothing at all. So why not just do that? Here's the problem. This little box that you fill in, that you could put maybe 200 words in, that is not enough to apply to any reasonable guild. Guilds have application processes for a goddamn reason, folks. They do. It's true. They do. Why do you think they have them? Because they want to be discerning about who they let in. If you do not allow them to be discerning about that, then the only people who will use the looking for guild system are those that are not discerning. And why would you want to be in a guild that doesn't care about the people it brings in? That's terrible. That's such a dumb idea. No. Horrible. I have no problems with the system being implemented, just as I have no problems with the looking for group system being implemented. Absolutely. Make a mechanical method within the game whereby you can apply directly and things can be done via an automated and organized fashion. Absolutely do it. But make it work properly before you bring it in. Right now, obviously, it's on the PTR. There's 2 months for them to get this right. So I hope they do. I really, really do hope that they get this sorted out. Because right now, and the looking for guild is just horrible. It's disgraceful. It doesn't have enough information to accurately apply to anything. It is so simplistic that I would go as far as to say that Blizzard doesn't even understand what being in a guild actually means on that basis. How could they, if they think guilds can be categorized so simply and so broadly? No. No, folks. It is bad. It is very, very bad. We do not, in fact, want. I was not happy. I was not pleased. Fix it. Make it better. You have the time, folks. You have the time to make it better, to make it superior. So make it superior. That, I believe, is that for the show. Shout out time, folks. Email into themelodic@gmail.com. You can tweet me or you can send me a message over IRC. Do it, ladies and gentlemen, do it. For the last few minutes of the show. That will be a good idea. And then, folks, we will all be good. We will be happy. It will be wondrous. We'll be so happy. Shout out to Krellian Stormcrow for playing Retribution and co-op the whole night. Yeah, I've got that. I want to play it later. I'm so busy. I've got Azeroth Daily and the Magicka video to release tonight. So I'm probably not going to play any of that. I got like the first 2 missions done and I'm loving every bit of it. Oh, it's great. Playing Chaos, of course. A shout out to Inspector Gadget. From me and Max. Yes, that's from Karen. Fantastic. Yeah, we had the Game Fest last week, and all that could really be stuck in people's minds was Inspector Gadget. Oh, I know what to do. Oh, I know what to do, yes. Anyway, yeah. Just pay no attention to the rapid and frantic clacking of keys in the background. No, we wouldn't be doing anything like that, would we? No, absolutely not. Okay. More stuff. Oh, that's disappointing. I'm gonna have to get it from elsewhere. I will find it. Get it. This is important, folks. This is important. Aha! This might be the one. There we go. Anyway. Without any more of that nonsense. Oh, God. No! Stop immediately. Oh, my God. Anyway. Shout-outs. A shout-out to Too Good, a.k.a. Too Good Harding, for sponsoring Bloodline Champion tournaments out of his own pocket. Well done to him. And I will be covering BLC at some point, by the way. Can I give a shout-out to Dave, Fear the Flames, and him playing as Fear on Old Dragonmoor? Yes. Apparently that's where he played. Maybe he did. That's from Najald, perhaps. Shout out to TB and the faithful listeners who aren't stupid. That'll be all 7 of them. A shout out to my newly built Skull Fortress in Minecraft that has a stylish top hat in honor of our Lord and Master. Who the hell's that? That's from Hootmoo. A shout out to IKillFL. Who the hell is IKillFL? I don't know, but there you go. Apparently there's somebody called that. For building a ridiculous large house in the Minecraft town. And a shout out to the Emperor. Or indeed for the Emperor. Shout out to myself because I'm awesome and egocentric. That's from Ziv here. And shout out to your phone and your bouncer for making the bot spam. A shout out for the 11 Pledge division in Troll Face, currently stomping a Senate Council into the ground. It will hit the floor soon. That's from Litriever. Oh yeah, that would actually make us really, really amazing, I gotta say. Okay, what else have we got? More shout-outs. Shout-outs over Twitter. Shout out to Vordy from Bloodhoof EU. I've quit and I'm not coming back for months. Congratulations. A shout out to you guys across the street I've been playing Magicka with. We just blew up the end boss with a quad beam crossing. That's from Tussles. And a shout out to Yogscast and me for the fantastic Magicka videos. And a shout out to Kazmadan US, the world's worst server. And it's home to Kensanity. Right, folks, I am done. Thank you very, very much. You have been a fantastic audience as always. Now, I think the most important thing is whether or not we were able to get what I was looking for here. Perhaps we were. I certainly hope we were. If we were not, we will know about it. Thanks for watching and listening to Blue Plz. I'm out of here, folks. Good night.
You have been listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz, WoW's #1 shock jock show, only on CynicalBrit.com. We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to leave a comment on the Cynical Brit website or write a review of the show on iTunes. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.